Aza, let's start with the inception of this. You wrote the script with each of these actors in mind. I wonder if you could talk about how you approach it with that in mind, how these characters came to you and why they came to you specifically with these three actresses.
I think there's like a variety of reasons. I think one of the things that I was chasing most about this, at least that got me writing, was chasing down how time was affected when you know death is approaching. I feel like I have certain actors in my brain when I'm just working on things, and that people that I look up to, that I want to work with. And I started hearing each of their voices, and it just felt like I could see the contrast and clash, but I could also really see how they could work together. It really felt like there was some similarity just in terms of their incredible approach and just the brilliance they bring to their roles. The one of the things that I knew about all of them was that they love films, and this was really trying to connect to certain movies that I love, that I knew that they would kind of understand, that they also felt similar about.
Can you talk a little bit about the kind of family portrait you wanted to create here, what the dynamics between these characters look like to you?
I was writing very, very disparate stories in a little sketchbook, thinking like, oh, I could tell a story about this type of person dealing with this situation, or this person, and then I realized that, oh, they're actually of the same family, and that they're connected, and that if they were under one roof, that would put them on this collision course in a way that could be potentially fruitful. And really, for me, I think it was just like going through this in my own life, realizing that I was very much becoming three different people at random different times throughout the day or throughout the week. I could find myself being each of these sisters very, very easily.
Natasha, when a script comes your way and you're told this character has been written with you in mind, how does one react?
I mean, I was so excited by the Carrie Lizzie specificity, and that Aza saw it so clearly. I think it's really a testament to this entire journey that we've been on. Lizzie's always talking about how, we didn't do any announcements. Nobody knew about it. We kind of made it in a vacuum. It was just so rare and precious that it wasn't kind of like a series of lists. Even as a producer, we all see those, right? So you kind of go down the list and see who's of value. And it's clearly deranged. Only in that it makes much more sense to have a clear vision. And so I think that that's, for all three of us, what got us so amped, was just the idea that it really screamed, I know exactly what movie I'm about to make.
Did you connect to specific aspects of the character, knowing that he was writing this with, an awareness of perhaps of what you brought to past projects? How did you sort of find your way into her?
I remember, there's a name drop. It's a New York name drop. I remember running into Sam Rockwell on the street one day, and I was like, so how you doing this? What's going on? You winning all these Oscars? And he was like, Natasha, you're not supposed to be doing this alone. And I'm a kid actor. I said, what do you mean? He said, there's this guy, Terry Knickerbocker, an acting coach. I didn't work with him on this film because we rehearsed. But I began to realize that it was important that with the hair and the attitude and the accent, to start distinguishing these kind of Orange is the New Black, Nadia Russian Doll, or, Charlie Poker Face. Like, they can't all be the same game, even if I'm the architect of this sort of, Mae West avatar, for lack of a better thing, meets Bugsy Siegel, whatever. And so I guess I started to ask myself, having, also in many cases even written these roles for myself, the smoker, let's say. I was like, what would it be like to strip all of that away and be laid bare? What would it be like to actually be still, sort of like lose the bits and almost like, breathe? I remember like Scott Elliott at a New Group play once told me to just like be still for a second. It was weird. So I was questioning what was beneath all that. And I know that the answer is, it's like pain. It's like every tough guy is just a very sensitive, raw nerve, doing anything they can to survive. So yeah, I guess I signed up for that as a way to distinguish.
Please.
Thanks. First time that's happened, and we've done 47 Q&As today alone. Thank you.
Elizabeth, did you have a similar kind of experience at all? I think what Natasha's speaking to. Well, I think what Natasha's speaking to is.
Baby, you got a Diane Weist avatar. We all don't act like you don't. You know your lineage.
A Hannah and her sister's thing seeping in here, I see.
Yeah, she knows it impeccably.
But I think what Natasha's speaking to is that there's a real rigorous emotional authenticity to this project, and I think it's asking each of you to go to a kind of a deeper place, perhaps, than other scripts would ask. So what did that work look like for you?
Specifically, it being a language-forward piece was really fun. Like Natasha had said, you open the page and Katie just talks for a page and a half, and it's also very clear in the writing exactly how it's going to be shot, that we're not going to know who she's talking to, where she is in the space. And I found that to be scary and exciting, and you don't get to read a lot of scripts that aren't direct reflections of our colloquialisms every day. It very much had its own rhythm to the piece, and these characters were in the same world, and this world just felt slightly adjacent to a world that's of like modern day. And when it came to Christina, I felt like there are all these women that I grew up watching, whether it's a Diane Weiss or a Diane Keaton or Carol Kane, and there are these like New York women who I adored as a teenager, and thought, I couldn't really identify with these stereotypes or the prototypes of certain women, but those women, that seemed like a lane I could follow and understand. And a nervous, neurotic. To call myself an intellectual in between these two women is absurd, but
Don't start.
But there is like a lane of of feminine neuroses I could find or something, and so it felt like there is an opportunity here to play in that field. And so that was something that was exciting for me, and a nice opportunity, because I usually just want to be unlikable people who have a really strange idea of morality, and that's not what I got to do this time, which was also kind of its own gift of being someone who's just like true vulnerable, like goodness.
Mm-hmm. So within that, how did you find connecting with your co-stars and developing this sense of history and this complex bond, particularly in that kind of filming style you're talking about that's very, very specific?
Well, I think, you haven't heard from Carrie yet tonight, but we all kind of just show up who we are, how we are. I met Carrie while egg was dripping down her face, and she was in a onesie and was talking about.
Wait, I don't remember that day.
It was the egg sandwich that she got from it was rehearsals. What are you talking about?
Oh, I don't remember anything. I have 2 children.
Yeah, but I was like, where'd you get that sandwich? You were like, I'm wrapping aluminum foil.
Where did I get it? Was it good?
It was a man on the street. One of those.
I was being very bold
New York
that day.
stands, and you had this egg sandwich, and you sat down with your legs wide open, and you just started eating.
I think what Lizzie means to say is that vulnerability is the job. And my husband, who's here tonight, would say
Tracy,
it's not pixie dust, that's actually the job. The responsibility of the actor is to create that vulnerability. And the thing we all signed up for was a movie that was so solidly, so well formed. It was, the form follows the function. So the sisters, you meet them, they are stereotypes, and they are occurring to the audience the same way they're occurring to each other. And then as the movie unfolds, their relationship gets more complicated. At the same time, the audience's point of view of the sisters is also complicated. And that is very deft writing. And so I would say for me, everything I needed was already there. We talked about some logistical things, timeline, when do we live in the house together, when did our mothers die? But really, everything we needed was in the script already. In the best scripts, you don't need to do anything outside. You can, but if you have 2 children, you don't have time, so you don't. And so I just loved how solid a thing it was, and it's just so unusual to have a script land in your lap that's like that. And when you have actors signing up knowing exactly what they're signing up for, then inevitably you only have 17 days to do it, so you just got to get to work.
But we also all showed up incredibly just open. And I'm okay with people who don't do that. That's fine. You figure out how to navigate working with them. Cool, whatever. Don't have a lot of time for that in this situation. And we all just showed up like willing and ready, I think.
Well, we're at time, but thank you all so much. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.